Hey guys, Hitman89 here, I hope you're doing great. Last time we had the best Xbox and PC games, check out the video if you haven't already. And today, as promised, I'm gonna show you the best 2022 games to play on PS5. Some of them are also available on PS4, so don't worry if you're poor. Anyway, we're starting off super strong, because at number 1 we have God of War Ragnarok. And even if you haven't played the 2018 reboot, it's okay, cause there is a recap that you can watch right from the main menu before starting this new journey. And just like the previous game, Ragnarok is pretty linear, but it still encourages exploration with hidden treasures and resources that can come in very handy if you wanna craft or upgrade your gear. There are plenty of puzzles to solve in between fights, and keep in mind the game is far from being easy. It can be pretty challenging, especially when it comes to optional boss fights. You can definitely lower the difficulty level if you're a pussy though. In all seriousness now, on God of War Ragnarok, there are no loading screens, the transitions from cutscenes to gameplay are seamless, the haptic feedback implementation is excellent. The main story alone is 20 hours long, there are many side quests to do if you don't feel like rushing the game, and you can even play as Atreus every now and then. With 9 realms to explore, once you start playing this game, it's gonna be hard to put the controller down, I'm telling you. I mean, the graphics aren't as impressive as I wanted them to be. In my opinion, the second game on this list looks better. But if you wanna enjoy a great Norse mythology story while beating the shit out of all kinds of monsters, then God of War Ragnarok is what you need. The second game you should definitely play if you have a PS5 or a PS4, because this one is cross-gen as well, is Horizon Forbidden West. Easily the best looking game I've played, like ever. Check out this bitch's peach fuzz. I mean, thank God for these awesome graphics, cause they're pretty much the only thing that makes exploration enjoyable here. Seriously, apart from doing quests, you can complete ruins by solving puzzles to get a treasure and a skill point, but that's about it. So the game is really challenging, the combat system is much better now that melee is a viable option, the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers support makes everything feel great, but platforming is weird and far from being enjoyable. Now at number 3 we're gonna be looking at an underrated game, Elden Ring. No, but even though I'm sure most of you already played it and loved it, like I did, or maybe you're one of those noobs who didn't know Elden Ring was basically an open world Dark Souls game and you hated it just cause you got your ass whooped, I couldn't make this list without putting Elden Ring on it. To this day, it's still my game of the year, even after playing God of War Ragnarok. Cause I beat Elden Ring in 65 hours, so I took my time with it, and I even ended up starting a new game plus, which is something I never do. So for the 69 people who still haven't experienced Elden Ring, exploration feels so rewarding. There are tons of dungeons, boss fights, and even whole regions that you could easily miss out on if you don't explore thoroughly. The combat system is obviously challenging, unless you're one of them little bitches who activate easy mode by making a magic build. Disgusting. So if you want to play Elden Ring at a somewhat stable 60 FPS, get it on PS5. Now how about I show you guys a multiplayer game for a change? A free-to-play one to make sure everyone's got at least one game to play. Even though I'm not really into Battle Royale games, for me, Warzone 2 has been intense and very fun to play. Plus with the DualSense's integrated mic and with the game's proximity chat, you can hear people talking if you're in the same area and they can hear you too. So you might find yourself involved in some unique situations. Seriously, play Warzone 2 and you'll feel that adrenaline rush. Try to bring at least a friend with you to make the experience much more enjoyable. But don't expect the same graphics you saw in the single player campaign, cause that's just not gonna happen when you have 150 players per game. Oh, and don't worry if you suck at aiming or if you're not into first person shooters, there is a third person mode too, so you'll be just fine. Anyway, let me show you a completely different game now, Stray. When I saw the trailers, I wasn't interested in playing this game at all. I'm not into cats, or any kind of pets for that matter, but Stray came out in July, back when there weren't that many new games to play, so I ended up giving it a shot, and honestly, it's really not bad. On this game, you play as a cat that became friends with an android in order to leave the cyberpunk world. It's linear as fuck, so even when it comes to jumping, you can't do it whenever and wherever you want. In other words, it's got contextual jumps. On the bright side though, it's different than most games you can play this year, so maybe check it out. Make sure you get it for super cheap though, cause you can beat the game within 5 hours, which is a real bummer. Now, if you don't feel like playing a cat and you'd rather be a goat, then you should check out the 6th game on my list, Goat Simulator 3, which I found way more enjoyable than Stray. And if you're wondering why you can't remember playing Goat Simulator 2, Well, it's cause there's never been a Goat Simulator 2, that's why. So, my first thought when I started playing this game was, wait, is this a Skyrim reference? Turns out it is. So even though the sandbox game might seem like it could get boring within 10 minutes, it's actually hilarious. For real, there's something about it that just makes you want to keep on playing it, even if you're just doing ridiculous stuff. Plus, Goat Simulator 3 supports up to 4 players in split screen and online, so I played it with my wife and we had a silly goose time. The only bad thing I noticed, yeah, dad jokes. So, the only bad thing I noticed is the amount of pop-in that gets extremely noticeable as soon as you drive any kind of vehicle. It didn't prevent me from having a blast destroying everything in my way though. Speaking of destruction, check out the next game on my list. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed is a faithful remake of the original game that came out on PS2 and Xbox back in 2006. So the gameplay is pretty old school, but it's still a blast though. You just gotta like immature jokes and probing, so it's definitely not for those snowflake video game journalists. You can play the whole campaign in split screen, which is great. I played it a little bit with my wife, but she found it boring and she said it was for kids, so she ruined it for me. Who cares what she thinks though? The game is really fun to play and it's only available on next-gen consoles and PC, so pick it up when you get a chance. Moving on to the next game, we're gonna be looking at Gran Turismo 7. I don't know about you, but World Map mode reminds me of the good old Gran Turismo days. I remember back when I was a kid, I played Gran Turismo 2 on PS1 and my play sessions lasted so long. I was doing those crazy 99 lap races, you know, back when I had nothing better to do with my life. No, but for real, even though I haven't been into racing games for years, when I played Gran Turismo 7, I got addicted to it and I really enjoyed passing those license tests, buying new cars and winning races. Too bad visually it's not as impressive as Forza Horizon 5, and that's an open world game, so they need to step their game up in terms of graphics and physics. Well, at least the gameplay is more realistic here because it's meant to be a simulation. Now if you want to be a tall French chick who cares way too much about her annoying little brother, then you need to play A Plague Tale Requiem. If you play The Plague Tale Innocence, then you'll be happy to know they finally fixed the AI. They didn't just fix it actually, they made it so much better. Nah, I'm just fucking with you, it still sucks dick. But somehow, the stealth adventure game still manages to be great. The combat evolved more than enough to make the game enjoyable, and apart from your slingshot, you can now use a crossbow to kill bandits and soldiers, but also to use fireballs to create a path in between all those rats. Cause yes, light is the only thing they're scared of. Speaking of which, puzzles usually involve rats, light and darkness. They're rarely complicated though, and it's pretty much more of the same, so if you didn't play the first game, you'll probably enjoy this one more. Plus the story is told in a much better way, and as you can see, the game is breathtakingly beautiful, especially the environments. Let me know if you're like me and you stop every now and then to take a look around you and appreciate these dope graphics. Speaking of dope graphics, last but not least we have The Last of Us Part 1. This is one of the best looking games you can play right now. I mean, look at those sexy water ripples. And gameplay wise, whether you're fighting 1 infected or 5 regular guys, every fight is intense. Plus you can pretty much do whatever you want. For example, if you want to hit this guy with a brick, then rush him and finish him with melee, you can definitely do that. Sadly, this is still the same PS3 game you know, so you can't go prone, and most importantly, you'll have to carry those fucking planks and still get treated like shit. So if you're looking for a game where you spit on women, grab The Last of Us Part 1. And this is where I get cancelled, I guess. In all seriousness though, if you played the original game on PS3 or the remaster on PS4, definitely skip this one. In my case, I'm playing it for the very first time and I think it's a masterpiece. So if you're like me, grab it when it's super cheap, cause I don't know about you, but I wouldn't pay $70 for a graphical overhaul. I mean, you could still do that, or you could grab it from buygames.ps and any other PlayStation and Xbox game you want for way cheaper. They provide me with all the games I need to make these videos, so check them out. Now that we got that out of the way, here are a few PS5 exclusives you should definitely check out, and the only reason they're not on today's list is because they didn't come out this year. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is an excellent third-person shooter that looks insane and also makes great use of the DualSense's features. Now, Demon's Souls Remake is the first PS5 game I played and it's still my favorite exclusive to this day. If you haven't played Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut Edition, you definitely should, because it heavily improves the graphics and performance of the original game, and it's a must-have for any samurai fan. Spider-Man Miles Morales is way shorter than the original Spider-Man game, but it's extremely fun to play, and it's probably dirt cheap now, so why not? And that's gonna be it for the best PS5 games of 2022. I did my best to include a couple of underrated ones, so I really hope this video helped you find at least a couple of good games to play. Don't forget to check out my previous video for the best PC and Series X games. Some of them are also available on PS5. Anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It's been Hitman89. See you guys very soon.
For the pay stub or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh. Fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Famous for the way up. Play the game, bruh.